Little girl, for 4 months you have been bringing me food when the boss isn't looking. Allow me to repay you for your kindness. Tomorrow, do not come in first to open the cafe. Be late on purpose. Let the administrator open it. The day after tomorrow, I will explain everything. Before we begin, write to us where you are watching us from. We are very interested in this. We wish you a pleasant listening of this captivating story. Elena woke up 5 minutes before the alarm. This happened every morning. For the last year and a half, her body had learned on its own to wake up at 5:30, as if an inner guard wouldn't let her sleep even 1 extra minute. She got up carefully from the sofa, trying not to make the springs creak, and tiptoed to the window. Behind the curtain, the darkness of the night still reigned. Only the street lamp at the entrance cast a yellowish light on the snowy courtyard. Mom was sleeping in the room behind the thin wall. Elena listened. The breathing was regular, quiet. That is good. It means the night passed without crises. After the stroke, every quiet night seemed like a small miracle. A year and a half ago, Mom could still walk on her own, spoke almost without stumbling, even tried to help around the house. But the second attack, 3 months ago, nailed her to the bed. Now the left side almost didn't move at all. Her speech had become unclear, and Elena had transformed not only into a daughter, but also into an orderly, a nurse, and a nanny. She washed her face with ice-cold water. The hot water had been turned off since yesterday. They had promised to turn it on towards the evening. She quickly pulled on her black jeans and white blouse and slipped her feet into her worn-out sneakers. Her gaze fell on the mirror in the hallway. She boiled the porridge, left it for her mother in a bowl on the table, and put a note next to it. "Mommy, warm it up in the microwave. The pills are in the blue box. 2 pieces after the meal. I am coming at 3. Kisses, Lanuta." Mom couldn't always read. The letters blurred and got tangled for her, but Elena wrote anyway. Maybe today she would succeed. She threw her old jacket on, wrapped her neck with a scarf, and went out into the building's hallway. The elevator hadn't been working for the 2nd month. 4th floor. She had to go down on foot. Outside, the frost had hit, -15 no less. The snow crunched under her feet. The cold nipped at her nose. Elena quickened her pace. It was a 20-minute fast walk to the Cozy Corner Cafe. At 6 o'clock, she had to manage to open. The streets were empty. Rare cars passed by her. The headlights pulled snowdrifts and bare trees out of the darkness. Elena walked the known route. She didn't think about the road. Her feet carried her on their own. She was thinking about something else. About the fact that the salary was promised only in a week, and Mom needed medicine as early as tomorrow. It was good that at the cafe tips were still given. Yesterday, a man left 200 rubles. Small change, of course, but at least something. The Cozy Corner Cafe was located on the ground floor of an old 9-story building on the outskirts of the city. Once, an ordinary apartment had been here. Then the owner bought the neighboring one, knocked down the walls, renovated, and opened the place. It turned out spacious. 6 tables, a bar, a kitchen behind a partition wall. The interior was simple. Wooden tables, checkered tablecloths. On the walls, photographs of the city in frames. Nothing special, but people came, especially those from the neighboring houses. Breakfast, lunch, sometimes in the evening they stayed for a beer. Elena took out the keys and opened the door. Inside, it smelled of yesterday's borscht and something sweet. Probably buns were left over. She pressed the switch, and the room filled with light. She took off her jacket, hung it on a nail in the storage room, and put on her apron. The chores started immediately. Turn on the coffee machine, wipe the tables, arrange the chairs, check what is in the fridge. Work for 1 hour minimum until the opening at 7 o'clock. While Elena was bustling around the tables, someone knocked on the window. She started. Who comes at this hour? Turned and saw a known silhouette near the glass. Vasile, an old homeless man who had been living somewhere in the neighboring yard for the last few months. Tall, hunched over, in a torn jacket and a hat with ear flaps, from under which gray strands stuck out. His face was weather-beaten, red from the frost, but his eyes were alive, clear, not drunk like other street people, but somehow distinct, attentive. Elena waved to him and pointed to the back entrance. In 1 minute, Vasile was standing at the service door, stomping in place, visibly frozen. She ran quickly to the kitchen, put yesterday's soup in a plastic container, added 3 slices of bread, and also put in 2 buns with jam. The owner, Gennady Markovich, strictly forbade taking food out. That is waste. Everything must be thrown away according to the rules, he had yelled when he once caught Elena with the bag, but she still took it out, a little bit, so he wouldn't notice. She had already been feeding Vasile for 4 months, from the day she first saw him rummaging in the dumpster behind the cafe. She opened the door slightly and handed him the container. Vasile took it with both hands and nodded. "Thank you, little girl, thank you." "Oh, never mind." Elena waved her hand. "Eat, Vasile Petrovici. The soup is still hot here, before it gets cold. The Lord will reward you for your kindness." He always said that, seriously, with an old-fashioned solemnity. Elena was ashamed at first, then she got used to it. Vasile did not resemble the other homeless people. He didn't drink, didn't swear, behaved with dignity. Once she asked him how he ended up on the street. He answered shortly. Life turned out that way, and gave no further details. Elena didn't insist. Everyone has their secrets. "Take care out there," she said. "It's cold today. Hide in a basement or something. I'll find a little place, don't worry. But you take care of yourself. How is your mom?" "Still the same. She is lying down. Medicine is needed, and money, as always, is at the limit." Vasile looked at her for a long time, as if he wanted to say something, but remained silent. He nodded one more time and went back into the yard. Elena closed the door and returned to the room. Time flew fast. It was 5 minutes to 7. Time to open. The first customers appeared immediately. Pensioner Uncle Kolya always took tea with a bagel. Aunt Galia, from the neighboring street, coffee with milk and a cheese pie. Then the workers from the construction site appeared. 6 men, noisy, hungry. They ordered omelets, sausages, bread, tea. Elena spun around the bar. In the kitchen, pots were clattering. The cook Luba was performing magic over the pans. Towards 9 o'clock, the main bustle began. People were going to work. Many came in to have breakfast. The cafe was almost full. Elena carried orders, gathered dirty plates, punched receipts on the antique cash register. Her hands moved automatically. Her head thought slowly. She hadn't slept again. "Miss, hey, waitress," a man in a leather jacket called her. "The coffee is completely cold. What kind of service is this?" Elena approached, looked at the cup. The coffee had been poured 3 minutes ago. It couldn't have cooled down that fast. But it was useless to argue. "I'll change it now, sorry." "Right, bravo. You stand here, probably pressing buttons on your phone, and customers are waiting." She clenched her teeth, took the cup, and went to the kitchen. Luba looked at her askance. "Are they boars again?" Let it be. I'm already used to it." "Man, you are patient, Lanuta. I would give a smack in the snout to ones like these." "I need the salary," Elena sighed. "Otherwise, I would have sent them for a walk." She poured a new portion of coffee and took it. The man didn't even say thank you. He buried his nose in his phone. Elena retreated to the window to catch her breath. Beyond the glass, it started to snow, thick, wet. The snow stuck to the window and slid slowly down. She thought about Vasile, where he might be now. Did he find shelter? He probably ate the soup. At least he isn't hungry. At lunch, Gennady Markovich, the cafe owner, appeared. A man of about 50 years, massive, with a belly. dressed in an expensive fur coat and crocodile leather shoes. His face was red, swollen. His small eyes darted around the room, looking for something to pick on. He went to the bar and threw a glance at Elena. "We are working great today." "It's normal, Gennady Markovich. There were many people in the morning." "Uh-huh. And where are the receipts?" He opened the register, quickly counted the banknotes. "Kind of little. Why?" "Well, people only took breakfast. It's not that expensive." "It means you have to sell more, propose desserts, extra coffee. But what are you doing, standing here like a toucan? You have to work, not count crows." Elena was silent. It was useless to argue with the boss. He was always dissatisfied, always found a reason to yell. He loved money madly. He counted every kopeck, saved on salaries, wrote off products from the inventory as if he were feeding an army with them, although in reality, half simply spoiled and flew into the trash. And in general, Gennady Markovich swept the room with his gaze. "There is dust on the windowsill here. See?" "Look, I swiped my finger. Dirt. Horrible. How much should I pay you if you don't do simple things? I wiped it the day before yesterday." "The day before yesterday. But what about today? Did your hands fall off? Do you want clients to sit in filth?" Elena swallowed the insult. He paid crumbs, 18,000 a month, and he delayed even those constantly. But there was no other work. She had tried to search, called stores, offices. She even wanted to get employed at the factory. Refusal everywhere. She has no experience, not really any studies, plus a sick mother who needs care. Who would hire someone like her? "I'm wiping it now," she said quietly. "Well, wipe it. And in general, move faster. What do you receive money for?" He turned and went into the storage room. Elena clenched her fist so hard her knuckles turned white. She breathed rarely, counted to 10. "Don't break, don't break. You need money, Mom needs medicine. Everything else, later." The day dragged slowly. The lunch flow, then silence. Elena managed to eat a piece of bread with butter and tea on the run in the kitchen. She didn't want more. Her stomach was tightening into a knot from fatigue. Her legs were buzzing, her back hurt. She sat on a stool, leaned against the wall, and closed her eyes. At least 1 minute of rest. "Elena!" Luba roared from the kitchen. "The order is ready. Take it to table 3. She jumped up, grabbed the plate with peel-off, and took it. It was like that until evening. Commotion, orders, visitors. At 3 o'clock, Mom called, mumbled something unclear into the receiver. Elena barely made out. The medicine, it ran out. Her heart stood still. She rushed to Gennady Markovich. "Can I leave earlier? I urgently need to buy medicine for my mother." "Leave? The shift is until 6. Who is going to work in your place?" "But Gennady Markovich, Mom is sick. She feels bad." "Everyone feels bad. Look, I feel bad too. I pay taxes, rent, salaries. Do you think it's easy? Work until the end of the shift, then go where you want." "But nothing will happen to her. She'll endure. And you, don't mess up my shifts here." Elena retreated. Her eyes stung from tears, but she held back. She returned to the room, continued to work. Only one thought spun in her head: to make it, to reach the pharmacy before closing. If she doesn't make it, Mom remains without medicine overnight, and that is dangerous. Blood pressure can jump. Another attack can happen. At 6 in the evening, she bolted from work, didn't even change, grabbed her jacket, and threw herself into the street. The pharmacy was 10 minutes away if she ran. Elena ran, without seeing the road, slipped on the frozen sidewalk, was about to fall, but held on. She arrived, burst into the pharmacy. Behind the counter stood a young pharmacist, leafing through a magazine. "I need captopril, 2 blisters. Do you have a prescription?" "Yes, look." Elena held out a crumpled paper. The pharmacist took it sluggishly, looked at it, nodded, and went somewhere in the back of the room. Elena shifted from one foot to another, counting the seconds. The girl returned with 2 boxes, 840 rubles. Elena took out her wallet, counted the small change, 850, everything she had left until the salary. She gave the money, received the medicine, and ran home. Mom was lying in bed, breathing heavily. Elena threw herself at her, hugged her, kissed her on the forehead. "Everything is fine, Mommy. Here is the medicine. I'm giving it to you now." She poured water, gave her the pill. Mom swallowed with difficulty, coughed. Elena stroked her back, whispered, "Slowly, slowly, everything is fine." Gradually, the breathing became uniform. Mom closed her eyes and dozed off. Elena sat on the edge of the bed, put her head on her hands. She was tired, so tired that she felt neither her hands nor her feet. She wanted to lie down and not get up for a week, but she couldn't. Tomorrow to work again. Again waking up at 5:30, again dragging herself to the cafe, again tolerating Gennady Markovich and the capricious customers. In the evening, she warmed up the buckwheat leftovers, ate without appetite, washed the dishes, cared for Mom, helped her change, gave her the night medicine, then lay down on the sofa, covering herself with the old blanket. For a long time, she couldn't fall asleep. Thoughts spun in her head. Money, medicine, work, how to live further, how to get to shore. She remembered Vasile, a strange old man, homeless but with inner strength. He asked for nothing, only thanked. He looked as if he saw through you. Sometimes Elena caught herself thinking that it is easier for her to talk to him than with any acquaintance. He didn't judge, didn't give stupid advice, only listened, and that helped. The second day, everything repeated. Waking up early, the road through the darkness, opening the cafe. Elena brought food out for Vasile, this time borscht and a pay. He took it, thanked her, but in his eyes there was something, a new anxiety, it seemed. Elena wanted to ask, but didn't get the chance. Lyuba shouted from the room, calling her to the kitchen. In the evening, when the shift ended, Elena looked out the window. Vasile stood at the dumpster, but he wasn't rummaging in it as usual. He simply stood and looked towards the cafe. For a long time, then he turned and left. Strange. Days ran one after another. Work, home, Mom. Work again. Elena held on with her last strength. Once, in the storage room, she went down for flour. The sack stood in the far corner on some old wooden pallets. While she was pulling one of them, she tripped and fell on her knees. She hit herself hard. She got up, rubbed the bruised spot, and accidentally noticed that behind the pallets there is something. She moved one aside. Behind it stood 3 more sacks, dense, blue, tightly tied. Elena felt them. Inside was something granular, strange. She tried to untie the string, but it didn't yield. Leave it, thought Elena. Probably the boss keeps some reserves. She put the sack of flour back, covered it with the pallets, and went upstairs. She didn't give it importance. In vain. A few more days passed. Elena had almost forgotten about the strange sacks in the storage room. Her head was full of other things. The salary had been delayed again. Gennady Markovich waved his hand. Next week, next week. And Mom needed new medicines. The doctor had prescribed additional preparations for the heart. Expensive. Elena counted every kopeck, put aside from tips, but the money still wasn't enough. That evening she stayed at work longer than usual. Luba left at 5 o'clock, the administrator Marina at 6. Gennady Markovich passed briefly, mumbled something about expenses, and bolted with his jeep. Elena remained alone. She had to close the shift, wipe the tables, wash the floor. She worked in silence, immersed in her thoughts. When she finished, it was already almost 7, lacking about 20 minutes. Twilight had fallen behind the windows. The street lamps had lit up. Elena took off her apron, put on her jacket, put the peel-off leftovers and 2 cabbage patties in a container for Vasile. She went out through the back entrance into the service yard. Vasile sat on an old crate near the dumpster, smoking a rolled cigarette. He saw Elena, stood up. His face was serious, even somber. He didn't smile as usual, just nodded. "Here, Vasile Petrovich." Elena handed him the container, still hot. "Thank you, little girl." He took the food but didn't open it. He looked directly into her eyes. "Elena, I need to speak with you." She became attentive. She hadn't heard such a tone from him before. Serious, almost official. Did something happen? Vasile looked sideways, as if checking if there were strangers nearby. Then he took a step closer, lowered his voice. "Listen to me carefully. Tomorrow you must not come to open the cafe first, do you hear? Do not come. Be late on purpose. Let someone else open." Elena blinked, not understanding. "What? Why?" "Don't ask now. I will explain everything the day after tomorrow, I promise. But tomorrow do not come first. It is important, very important." There was so much insistence in his voice that Elena felt shivers go down her spine. "Vasile Petrovich, you are scaring me. What is happening? Do you trust me?" She thought for a second. A strange question. Does she trust an old homeless man whom she has known for only 4 months? But something inside told her, yes, she trusts him. She didn't know why, but she trusted. "I trust you," she nodded. "Then do as I ask. Tomorrow do not come first. Be late. Invent a reason. Say the alarm didn't ring, that something happened with your mother. Any excuse, but let someone else open the door. Not you." Elena looked at him, trying to understand. Vasile was serious as never before. In his eyes, anxiety could be read, and something else, determination. "Okay," she said quietly. "I will try to be late. But do you promise to explain?" "I promise. The day after tomorrow I will tell everything." He turned and walked quickly in the direction of the abandoned house, where he usually spent the night. Elena remained in the yard, clutching the cafe keys in her hand. The cold penetrated to her bones, but she didn't move. She thought about what that was, why such a strange request, and why she suddenly felt fear. All the way home, Elena couldn't get rid of a bad premonition. Something was wrong. She remembered how in the last few days Vasile looked at the cafe. For a long time, attentively, as if stalking something. And she also remembered those sacks in the storage room, blue, tightly tied. What is in them, and why was Gennady Markovich so nervous lately? He came more and more often, checked something, whispered on the phone. At home, Mom was already sleeping. Elena undressed slowly, lay on the sofa, but couldn't fall asleep. She tossed and turned, listened to the sounds behind the window. Thoughts got tangled. Vasile's voice rang in her head. "Do not come first." Why? What can happen? She remembered his hands, strong, with thick fingers, workers' hands, and his posture was distinct, military as if. Straight back, marched walk, despite the years of vagrancy. Who is he? Where from? Why did he end up on the street? Towards morning, Elena finally dozed off, woke up from the sound of the alarm, 5:30. She got up, washed, got dressed. But when she was preparing to leave, she remembered Vasile's words, "Be late, do not come first." She stood in the hall, not knowing what to do. On one hand, the misunderstood request of the homeless old man. On the other, the job, which she was not allowed to lose. If she is late, Gennady Markovich will make a scandal. Maybe he will even cut her salary, and she needed money like air. But something inside whispered to her, listen to him. Trust. Elena stood for a minute or two, then decisively took off her jacket, lay back on the sofa, set the alarm for 7 in the morning, a delay of 1 hour. Let Marina open. She is the administrator. She has keys too. Elena closed her eyes, but didn't sleep. She just lay there, counting the minutes. Her heart beat fast. She was afraid, she didn't understand, but she decided to trust. During this time, Vasile had not been sleeping for the second night in a row. He sat in the basement of the abandoned house, wrapped in an old blanket. Nearby, a candle burned, the only source of light. Vasile looked at the flame and thought. 2 nights ago, he couldn't fall asleep. His back hurt, a cold was starting. He lay on his mattress, covered with rags, and looked at the dark ceiling. It was around 3 o'clock at night. Suddenly, he heard a sound. A car door slammed. Vasile became attentive. At this hour, there is no one in the yard. He got up, looked out the basement window. A black Jeep stood on the street. He recognized the car of the cafe owner, Gennady Markovich. 3 men got out of the car. Gennady himself, plump, in fur, and 2 others, tall, broad-shouldered, in leather jackets. Faces couldn't be seen in the darkness, but the movements were fast, precise, professional. Vasile instinctively felt danger. Not for nothing did he serve 8 years. In the sapper troops, such things are not forgotten. The sense of danger remained. He hid at the window, observed. The 3 men went to the cafe. Gennady opened the door with the key. They went inside. They didn't turn on the light. After about 5 minutes, Gennady came out, got into the car, and left. 2 remained inside. Vasile put on his jacket, went out of the basement, slowly, sneaking, approached the cafe. The windows were dark, but he knew there was a back entrance, a service door from the old part of the building. He approached. The door was slightly ajar, probably left intentionally to leave unnoticed. Vasile pressed himself against the wall, listened. Voices were heard from inside, quiet but distinct. He froze, almost didn't breathe. "Tomorrow morning it will work," a voice was saying, low, hoarse. "Sure?" The second voice was younger, but harder. 100%. The device at the entrance door, under the threshold, triggers upon opening. The explosion will be small, but sufficient. The gas pipe is nearby. They will blame a leak. And that waitress surely comes first. Every day at 6 in the morning she opens. "Alone," Gennady verified. "She is always first." The young one snorted. "Pity, of course. She is still young." "Pity," the hoarse voice laughed. "Don't talk nonsense. She accidentally found the merchandise in the storage room. Gennady saw how she was rummaging around there. Sooner or later she will catch on. She will tell someone. We don't need such witnesses. Maybe it's simpler just to eliminate her, quietly, without an explosion. No, this way is safer. Explosion means accident. The police will rummage around. They won't find anything. They will close the case, and we will move the merchandise before the check begins, clean and without traces." Vasile felt the cold trickle down his spine, not from frost, from horror. They intended to kill Elena, the little girl who for 4 months had been feeding him, without asking for anything in return. A good, unhappy girl, with a sick mother. He retreated carefully from the door. His heart beat madly in his chest. Something urgent had to be done. But what? If he goes to the police, who will believe a homeless drunk? Even if he wasn't a drunk at all, for them all street people are the same. They will say he is delirious, or will even decide that he himself is participating in something criminal and will arrest him. Vasile returned to the basement, sat on the mattress, thought, remembered everything he knew about military tactics, about explosives, about how such devices function. He had been a sapper, a good sapper. In Chechnya, he had defused mines, homemade bombs. His hands remembered, his head remembered. The plan ripened towards morning. He will wait until the 2 leave. Then he will warn Elena not to come first, and he will call the police anonymously, say that an explosive device is placed in the cafe. The bomb squad will come, defuse it, and further let the investigation clarify. But he had to act carefully. If the 2 notice that someone saw, They will kill him without hesitation. Vasile knew such people. They didn't stay for discussions. Around 5 in the morning, the men came out of the cafe. Vasile observed from the basement window. They locked the back entrance, went around the building, got into a black car without plates, and left. Vasile waited another half an hour, then went out. He approached the cafe, examined the door from the outside. Nothing could be seen. It means the device is indeed under the threshold, inside. Cunning. He returned to the basement, took out an old mobile phone. I'm listening. In the cozy corner cafe on Zaracheniaya Street, house number 12, an explosive device is placed. It will trigger upon opening the door. Check immediately. Who are you? Identify yourself. Vasile hung up, threw away the SIM card, hid the phone. Now it remained to wait and hope that Elena would listen to his warning. He remembered her face, pale, tired, but kind. She never passed by him with indifference. She always greeted, asked, "How are you doing?" Took out food secretly, risking her job. Such people are rarely met, especially now, when everyone thinks only about themselves. Vasile couldn't allow her to perish. That would have been a betrayal. He had betrayed too much in his life. Himself, his family, his oath. But now he could fix at least something, save a human life. Maybe then his own life will acquire a meaning. He sat in the basement and prayed. He hadn't prayed for a long time, for about 20 years probably, but now he whispered the words his mother had once taught him. Lord, have mercy. Lord, save. Do not let an innocent soul perish. Elena woke up at 7 in the morning from the sound of the phone. It was Marina, the administrator. Elena, where are you? Why didn't you come to open? I have been standing here for half an hour. Excuse me, Marina. Elena made a guilty voice. The alarm didn't ring. Mom slept poorly last night. I didn't rest. I'm coming out now. In 20 minutes I'm there. Elena, it is irresponsible. I cannot open every time in your place. Excuse me, honestly, excuse me. It won't happen again. Marina mumbled something else and hung up. Elena got up, got dressed, went out of the house, walked slowly, without haste. A strange feeling as if time had slowed down. She caught about Vasile's words. What did he mean? Why did he ask her not to come first? When she turned onto Zaracheniaya Street, she saw a gathering of cars at the cafe. Police cars, the ambulance, firefighters. People were crowded on the sidewalk, looking, discussing among themselves. Elena quickened her pace, almost ran. Her heart beat hard. What happened? She made way through the crowd. She saw the familiar face of Uncle Kolya, the pensioner, a loyal visitor. Uncle Kolya, what happened? The old man turned, saw Elena, and made big eyes. Lanuta, are you alive? Glory to God. What do you mean? What happened? There was a bomb in the cafe, under the door. The police came. The bomb squad says someone called anonymously, warned. They defused it. Elena felt her legs go soft. A bomb under the door. She was supposed to open that door first. Marina, the administrator, Marina is fine. She is alive. She had just arrived, hadn't managed to open yet, when the police came at speed. They encircled everything. Some men in suits went inside, tinkered there for an hour. They say the explosive device was defused. Elena squatted right on the sidewalk. Her head was spinning. Vasile, he knew. He warned her. A policeman approached Elena, a young boy in uniform with a notebook in his hand. Do you work at this cafe? She nodded, not being able to speak. The policeman sat next to her. What is your name? Elena. Elena Morozova. Do you usually open the cafe in the morning? Yes, every day at 6 in the morning. The policeman wrote something in the notebook, looked at her attentively. Why were you late today? Elena stammered. Should she tell about Vasile? But then she will have to explain who he is. How does he know? And what if they arrest him? They will think he is involved. The alarm didn't ring. I slept too much. The policeman narrowed his eyes, as if he didn't believe, but remained silent. He wrote something else. You were lucky. If you had come on time and opened the door, you would have left with the ambulance now, or with the morgue." Elena covered her face with her hands. Tears burst out on their own, from fear, from relief, from everything all at once. The policeman patted her awkwardly on the shoulder. "Everything is fine. You are alive? The main thing is that you are alive." He got up and went to his colleagues. Elena remained squatting, hugging her knees with her hands. Around, the crowd bustled. Cars flashed. Someone spoke loudly through a radio. She thought only about one thing. Vasile saved her life. Somehow he found out about the danger and warned her. After a while, another car pulled up at the cafe. An ordinary car, gray. 2 men in plain clothes got out of it. One older, about 50 years old, with a mustache. The second younger, in a leather jacket. They approached the senior policeman, showed identification, spoke about something. Then the senior looked at Elena, nodded in her direction. The man with the mustache headed towards her, looked at her carefully. "Elena Morozova, yes? Major Kravtsov, Criminal Investigations. Can I ask you a few questions?" Elena nodded. The major took out a recorder, turned it on. "Do you work at the Cozy Corner Cafe?" "Yes, as a waitress." "For how long?" "1.5 years. The owner of the place is Gennady Markovich Bespalov. Did you interact often with him?" "Well, he came almost every day, checked the work, the cash register." "Did you notice anything suspicious in his behavior? Strange visitors, discussions, meetings?" Elena thought, remembered how in the last few weeks Gennady was indeed nervous, spoke often on the phone, went into the storage room, locked himself there. Sometimes unknown people came. They entered through the back, passed into the storage room, stayed there with the boss. Elena had never seen their faces. They avoided the main room. "There were some people," she said quietly, "strangers. They came in the evening after closing, passed into the storage room. I don't know who they are." "How often did this happen?" "In the last 2 weeks, 3 or 4 times." The major exchanged a look with the colleague standing next to him. He made a sign to him. "That one went towards the cafe." "Elena, have you ever gone down into the storage room?" "Yes, of course. Products are kept there. Flour, cereals." "Did you notice anything unusual?" Elena remembered those sacks, blue, tightly tied. She had found them behind the pallets a few days ago, but hadn't given them importance. Now, however, it seemed important. "There were some sacks there," she said quietly, "behind those old boxes, big, blue. I stumbled upon them accidentally when I was taking flour. I wanted to see what was inside, but they were tied tightly. I thought they were some reserves of the boss, and I didn't touch them." The major tensed, leaned closer. "When was that?" 5 days ago, maybe a week." "Did you tell anyone about this?" "No, no one." "Did the boss see that you discovered the sacks?" Elena tensed, remembering. That day when she found the sacks, she came out of the warehouse and bumped into Gennady Markovich in the corridor. He stood at the door, looked at her strangely, tensely, and asked her what she was doing there. Elena answered that she took flour. He nodded and left. But from that day, he started looking at her differently, suspiciously, and he spoke more and more often on the phone, going out into the yard, whispering with someone. "I don't know," said Elena sincerely, "but he could have seen that I came out of there." The major stood up, looked towards the cafe, then again at Elena. "Elena, you risked enormously. Those sacks contain drugs, a large batch. The cafe was used as a transit base. The owner and his accomplices transported the merchandise through this place, hid it in the warehouse, then distributed it through the city. When he understood that you could have discovered the merchandise, he decided to get rid of the witness, organized the explosion so that everything would look like an accident, a gas leak." Elena went white in the face. It meant they wanted to kill her, simply because she accidentally found those sacks. "But how did you find out about the explosion?" she asked in one breath. "An anonymous call came this morning at 5:30. The basement where Vasile lived was empty. The mattress, the old blanket, a few bags with old clothes, all were in their place, but Vasile wasn't there. Elena ran outside, ran through the whole yard, looked behind the garages, at the trash bins. Nowhere, as if he had entered the earth. She returned to the cafe, approached the major. "Can I ask one more question?" "Of course. That call, the man who called, could you not find him?" The major looked at her attentively. "Do you have any assumption who it could be?" Elena hesitated. Should she say? But Vasile is a street person. They can accuse him of anything if they find out he lived near the cafe and watched. What if they believe he is an accomplice? She couldn't risk like that.
Vasile saved her. She won't betray him. "No," she lied. "I just wanted to thank him." The major nodded. "If you remember anything important, call." He handed her a business card. Elena took it and hid it in her pocket. Then she asked, "And what will happen now with the cafe?" "We will do a search. We will seize the evidence. If we find the drugs, we arrest the owner. The cafe will be closed until the investigation is finalized." "And I will remain without a job?" The major shrugged his shoulders. "I'm afraid so. But you have the right to compensation. You are a victim and a witness. The state will pay money. Plus, if you testify against the owner, you will receive additional payments." Elena nodded.
The job is lost, but life is saved. That is the most important thing. The rest, later. The next few hours passed in interrogations, drawing up protocols, statements. Elena told everything she knew about Gennady Markovich, about the strange visitors, about the sacks in the warehouse. The investigator noted every word, asked clarifying questions. Then Major Kravtsov led her into the cafe. She had to show exactly where she found the sacks. They went down into the warehouse. The bomb squad had already finished the job. The explosive device had been defused and taken for expertise. Elena went to the far corner, pointed to the pallets. "Look here, behind these boxes." The policeman moved the pallets aside. Behind them stood 4 blue sacks. One of the operatives put on his gloves and untied the string of the nearest sack. Inside was a white powder, packaged in transparent bags. The major whistled. "Heroin? 20 kilograms, no less. This is a serious article." He took out his phone, called someone, reported briefly on the discovery, then turned to Elena. "Your testimony will help us put the owner in prison for a long time. Thank you for your cooperation." They let Elena go around 3 in the afternoon. She walked home. She didn't have bus money, nor did she want any. She needed to think, to assimilate everything that had happened. They had wanted to kill her simply like that, because she accidentally found someone else's drugs. For Gennady Markovich, she was nobody, an ordinary waitress who could be easily replaced. Her life was worth nothing in his eyes. And if it hadn't been for Vasile, she would be lying in the morgue or the hospital right now, mutilated by the explosion. Elena stopped in the middle of the street and leaned against the wall of a house. Her hands were trembling. Only now, when it was all over, did she realize the full horror of the situation. Tears streamed down her cheeks. She cried softly, trying not to attract the attention of passers-by. Then she wiped her face with the sleeve of her jacket and walked on. At home, her mother was waiting for her. She had to tell her what happened, to calm her down, to think about how they would live from now on. Her mother was lying in bed watching TV. She saw Elena and tried to smile. It came out crooked. The left half of her face almost didn't move. "Elena, she whispered. Elena sat down next to her and took her hand. "Everything is fine, Mommy. I'm home." "Did you cry?" "No, what are you saying? It's just cold outside. My eyes are watering." Her mother looked at her distrustfully, but didn't ask any more questions. Elena stroked her hand, got up, went to the kitchen, heated the soup, fed her mother, gave her the medicine, then sat by the window looking into the courtyard. Where could Vasile be now? Why did he disappear? Maybe he was scared that the police would find him, ask him questions,
Or he simply decided that the job was done and he could leave. Elena remembered his face when he warned her. Serious, even harsh. Clear, awake eyes. Not the eyes of an alcoholic or a drug addict, but the eyes of a military man. Yes, exactly, a military man. She suddenly understood that Vasile was not an ordinary street person. He had a history, a past. Maybe he served, fought. Something happened and he ended up on the street. She decided to find him. She absolutely had to find him, to thank him, to find out the truth, to help him if possible. In the evening, Major Kraftsoff called. "Elena, I want to inform you that we have detained the owner of the cafe."
Gennady Bespalov has been arrested on suspicion of illicit drug trafficking and attempted murder. We are still looking for his accomplices, but I think we will find them soon. Thank you for your testimony. And what happens next? The investigation, the trial. You will be called as a witness. Be prepared. And one more thing. You have the right to compensation. Apply to the prosecutor's office. They will draw up the documents there. The sum will be considerable, no less than 300,000 for moral damages and cooperation with the investigation. 300,000. Elena almost suffocated. It was enormous money for her.
With this money, she could buy medicine for her mother for half a year in advance, pay off debts, and even put something aside for the future. "Thank you," she breathed out. "You have nothing to thank me for. You deserve it." Elena hung up the phone and sat on the sofa. Her head was spinning from the day's events. In the morning, she almost died. During the day, she found out they wanted to kill her in cold blood, like a useless object. And in the evening, that she would receive money that would solve many problems. And all this thanks to Vasile, whom she cannot find. The following days passed in worry. Elena went to institutions, drew up the documents for compensation, and gave additional statements. The investigation was in full swing. Gennady Markovich was held in custody. His accomplices, 2 men who had planted the explosive device, were also caught and arrested. The entire criminal group was dismantled. It turned out they had been dealing with heroin delivery in the city for 2 years already. They used the cafe as a base. The goods were brought at night, hidden in the warehouse, then distributed to sale points. Elena learned that that anonymous call really saved her life. Experts confirmed the explosive device was set to trigger upon opening the door. If Elena had arrived on time and opened the cafe, the first explosion would have occurred at that moment. The power would have been sufficient to kill a man or to mutilate him so that he would have no chance of survival. Every evening, Elena went to that courtyard, to the abandoned house, checked the basement, but Vasile was not there. His things had disappeared. The mattress, the blankets, the bags, as if he had never even existed. She asked the locals if they had seen a homeless old man. A grandfather told her he saw him a week ago, but then he disappeared. Where, nobody knew. Elena had almost despaired, but one day, 2 weeks after those events, she was passing by the bus stop and saw a familiar silhouette. Tall, gray-haired, in the same torn jacket. Vasile was sitting on the bench, looking somewhere into the distance.
Elena ran towards him and stopped in front of him. He raised his head and saw her. Surprise appeared on his face, then a smile. Warm, genuine. "Little girl," he said softly. "Vasile Petrovich." Elena almost burst into tears of relief. "Where have you been? I've been looking for you. You saved my life." He stood up, put his hand on her shoulder. "Quiet, quiet. Everything is fine. Are you alive? That is the most important thing. How did you find out about the bomb?" Vasile sighed, looked around, then motioned to the bench. "Sit, I'll tell you." They sat side by side. Vasile looked straight ahead, speaking slowly, searching for his words. "I saw them planting the device. At night, I eavesdropped on the discussion. I understood that they intended to kill you. I called the police anonymously. Then I disappeared. I didn't want them to interrogate me, to search for me. Nobody believes a homeless man. They could have believed that I was also involved." But why did you come back? I wanted to convince myself that you are alive, that everything ended well. Elena looked at him, his face furrowed with wrinkles, beaten by the wind, tired, but his eyes were alive, intelligent. She suddenly understood that she needed to know the truth. Vasile Petrovich, who are you? How did you know all this? A simple homeless man couldn't calculate everything like that. He was silent for a long time, then said softly, I was a combat engineer.
I served in the army for 8 years. Chechnya, 2 wars. I defused mines, bombs, all sorts of explosives. That's why I recognized the device. I understood how it works. And how did you end up on the street? Vasile clenched his jaw, remained silent. Elena didn't insist, but he started talking on his own, as if a dam had broken. My wife died, cancer. I was away on deployment. I didn't get to say goodbye. Then I started drinking. They kicked me out of the army. My son distanced himself, said I was the shame of the family. He sold the house, drank the money. I woke up at the train station without a penny. That's how I've been living for 4 years. Elena took his hand, old, calloused, trembling. You saved my life, Vasile Petrovich. I am so grateful to you. I will help you. I will absolutely help you. He looked at her in surprise. Help? How? I don't know yet, but I will find a way, I promise. 3 days later, Elena met with Major Kravtsov again. He had called her to the station to clarify details of the file. When the formalities were over, Elena gathered her courage and asked, Tell me, if a man helped uncover a crime, can he receive any help from the state? The major raised his eyebrows. It depends on the situation. Who is it about? Elena hesitated, then decided. That anonymous call that saved my life. I know who called. The major straightened up in his chair. Who? A homeless man, Vasile Petrovich. I don't know his last name. He lived in the courtyard next to the cafe. I fed him for 4 months. He saw them planting the explosive device, heard the criminals' discussion, and warned me, and then called the police. The major leaned back in his chair, thinking, Interesting. And where is he now? I don't know exactly, but I can find him. He is a veteran, served as a combat engineer. That's why he recognized the explosive device. Veteran. The major frowned. That changes things. If he really helped uncover the crime, we can arrange a reward for him from the investigation. Plus, if he is a war veteran, there is the rehabilitation program, the Veterans House. We need to check his data, search for documents. Elena felt hope rising in her chest. Can you really help him? If he testifies, confirms his role in uncovering the crime, yes. Bring him here. We will discuss it. Elena left the station and immediately called Vasile. She had asked for his phone number at their last meeting. He had resisted, but she insisted. The phone didn't answer for a long time. Then a hoarse voice was heard. Hello? Vasile Petrovich, it's Elena. I need to meet with you. Urgent. It's important. He was silent. What happened? I spoke to the police, to the major handling the case. I told him about you. He wants us to meet, to arrange a reward and help for you. Please, come. Elena, I don't want to deal with the police. Vasile Petrovich, please. Despair could be felt in her voice. You saved my life. Let me do at least something for you. The major promised he would help. You can have the chance to start a new life. A long silence, then a heavy sigh. Okay, I'm coming. Where do we meet? They met an hour later at the police station. Vasile came in the same torn jacket, but he tried to tidy up. He shaved, combed his hair. Elena took him by the arm, led him inside. Major Kravtsov welcomed them in the office, examined Vasile carefully, nodded. Take a seat. What is your full name?
Vasile Petrovich Gromov. Year of birth, 1962.
The major wrote down the data, then looked up. Elena said that you warned her about the danger and called the police. Tell me in detail how it was. Vasile began to speak slowly, with pauses, but in detail. He told how he didn't sleep that night, how he saw the black Jeep at the cafe, how 3 men went inside, how he sneaked to the back entrance, eavesdropped on the discussion. He heard about the explosive device, about the waitress who always comes first. He understood it was about Elena. He waited until the criminals left, then called the police and warned the girl. The major listened attentively, took notes.
When Vasile finished, he asked, "Did you serve in the army?" "Yes, engineering troops, 8 years, 2 campaigns in Chechnya." "Do you have documents?" Vasile shook his head. "I lost them long ago. When I ended up on the street, I lost everything. I don't even have a military ID." The major thought, then dialed a number on the service phone, spoke briefly with someone, dictated Vasile's data, hung up, looked at him. "We are checking the military commissariat database. If the data is confirmed, we will make you a certificate. And for now, give an official statement with everything you saw and heard that night." Vasile gave the statement, signed the report. The major shook his hand. "Thank you for your help."
"Without your call, the girl would have died. You saved a life. It is a heroic deed." Vasile was shy, averted his gaze. "I only did what I had to. Still, the state will appreciate this. You have the right to a reward of no less than 100,000 rubles. Plus, if you are a war veteran, we can enroll you in a rehabilitation center, then in the Veterans House. There will be accommodation, food, medical assistance there." Vasile raised his head. Hope shone in his eyes for the first time in a long time. "Is it true?" "True. Give me a week. I will look for your documents. I will arrange everything necessary." A week later, the major called Elena. His voice was pleased. "Elena, I have good news. Vasile Petrovich's data was confirmed. He indeed served in the engineering troops, participated in combat actions, has state decorations. He was discharged due to illness after a concussion. I have arranged the documents for his admission to the Veteran Rehabilitation Center. In a month, he will be able to move to the Veterans House, where he will live permanently. Plus, I am arranging the reward for his collaboration with the investigation, 120,000. Elena almost shouted with joy. Thank you enormously. Tell him to come to the station tomorrow, to pick up his papers." Elena called Vasile. He was silent for a long time, then said in a hoarse voice, "Little girl, I don't know how to thank you. You already thanked me. You saved my life. Now it's my turn to help you." And in another week, the compensation for Elena arrived, 315,000 rubles. She looked at the numbers in the bank notification and couldn't believe it. She had never held so much money in her hand in her life. The first thing she did was buy all the necessary medicines for her mother for half a year in advance. She paid the maintenance debts, the utilities. She bought her mother a new, orthopedic, comfortable bed. She called a masseuse to the house. The doctor said that regular massage would help her regain mobility. Then she sat at the table, took a notebook, began to calculate. 180,000 remained. She could put a little aside, stretch it for a year. But she could. Elena remembered her old wish. She had always dreamed of her own business, a small cafe where she would be the mistress, not a waitress, where there would be good people, tasty food, a welcoming atmosphere, not like at Gennady Markovich's, not a transit base for criminals, but a real place where people come to rest their souls. She started looking for options, called a few agencies, looked at ads, and found a small space on the ground floor of a 5-story block at the edge of the city. The former shop had closed half a year ago. The owner was renting it out cheaply, 25,000 a month. Elena went to see it.
The space was tiny, about 50 meters, but clean, bright, with running water, sewage, a hood. A small kitchen and a hall with 4 tables could be made. She calculated once more the rent, the repair, the equipment, the products for the first period. Everything together, about 150,000. 30,000 remained for unforeseen expenses. Elena signed the lease contract. For the next 3 weeks, she worked hard. She painted the walls herself, put up wallpaper, washed the floors. She bought old but solid tables and chairs from the flea market, sanded them, painted them white, put light-colored curtains at the windows, ordered the cafe sign, Kind Heart. Vasile helped her. He had already moved to the rehabilitation center, was undergoing treatment for alcoholism, recovering, but he came to Elena almost every day, helping with repairs. He repaired sockets, mounted shelves, painted walls, worked in silence, focused. His hands moved surely, accustomed to physical work. "Vasile Petrovich, you helped me so much," Elena said one day. "I don't know how to thank you." He smiled. "You already thanked me. You gave me my life back. For 4 years I was a nobody, a homeless drunk whom everyone despised. And you fed me, spoke to me as if I were a human being. You reminded me that I can still be useful. That is worth a lot." Elena hugged him tightly. He patted her on the back, then moved away and got back to work. A month later, the cafe opened, modest, quiet. Elena baked pies with cabbage, meat, apples, made borscht, salads, arranged everything on the tables. She lit candles in small candlesticks, put the announcement on the door. Opening, free lunch for the first 10 visitors. The first to come was Uncle Kolya, the pensioner from the old cafe. He saw Elena, smiled broadly. "Bravo, Elena, you opened your own business. Come in, Uncle Kolya, help yourself." Then other neighbors, acquaintances, random passers-by started coming. By evening, all 4 tables were occupied. Elena carried orders, smiled, talked to the guests, felt she was in her place. Her mother sat at the bar on a high chair. Elena had arranged this spot especially for her. Her mother couldn't move much, but she could take orders, ring up receipts on the simple cash register. She tried very hard, despite her speech difficulties. The customers treated her with understanding, waited patiently for her to ring up the receipt or write down the order. Some even came specifically to talk, old ladies from the neighboring house, who knew about Elena's mother's illness and wanted to support her. Things went unevenly. The first months were hard. The money barely reached for buying products and rent. Elena woke up at 5 in the morning, shopped at the market, cooked, served customers, cleaned. She fell exhausted late at night, but she was happy. It was her business, her cafe. She didn't subordinate to anyone, decided herself what to cook, how to receive guests, how much to charge for food. Gradually, loyal customers appeared. People started talking about the cafe in the neighborhood, that the cooking is tasty, prices are honest, the hostess is kind-hearted. The revenues were growing. After 3 months, Elena could already put a little aside. One day, a young man, about 30 years old, in a clean shirt and jeans, with a box of samples in his hands, entered. He introduced himself. "Good day, Artyom Belov, supplier of fresh vegetables and fruits. I can offer you quality goods at reasonable prices." Elena looked at the samples. Red, ripe tomatoes. Straight, crunchy cucumbers. Fragrant apples without worms. Where is the merchandise from? From peasant households. I go myself, I select them. No chemicals, everything natural. What about the prices? Artyom named the prices. Elena calculated, it came out cheaper than at the market, and the quality was better. Fine, let's try. That's how their collaboration began. Artyom brought vegetables and fruits twice a week, always fresh, chosen. Elena was satisfied. Gradually, they started talking. Artyom turned out to be an interesting interlocutor, telling about the farmers he worked with, about his business development plans. He had a small enterprise, 2 vans, a few contracts with restaurants and cafes. He dreamed of expanding, opening a network of eco-shops. Elena listened, asked questions. She liked how he spoke, with enthusiasm, with fire in his eyes. He wasn't just earning money, he believed in what he was doing, just like her. One day, Artyom stayed longer than usual, helped unload the crates of vegetables, then sat at a table. "Can I get a coffee?" "Of course." Elena poured him a cup, put it on the table. "Won't you sit?" She hesitated. She had a lot of work, but something pushed her to sit opposite him. Artyom sipped his coffee, looked at her. "Did you dream of your own cafe for a long time?" "Always, but I didn't think I would succeed." "And how did you succeed?" Elena told him briefly, but honestly, about the work at Gennady Markovich's, about the explosion, about Vasile, about the compensation. Artyom listened attentively, didn't interrupt her. "You are strong," he said when she finished. "Not everyone would have withstood something like that." "I simply didn't have a choice. I had to survive." To survive is one thing, but to build something of your own from nothing is something else entirely. You did well. Elena was shy. Nobody had praised her like that for a long time. Artyom finished his coffee, stood up. "I have to go, but can I stop by again? Not for business, but simply to talk." "Of course," Elena smiled. From that day, Artyom started stopping by more often. Sometimes in the morning, before delivering the goods, other times in the evening when the program ended. They drank coffee, talked about life, about plans, about dreams. Elena told about her mother, about the difficulties with the cafe. Artyom shared his worries. Business didn't always go smoothly. There were debts, problems with suppliers. Gradually, a closeness appeared between them, not romantic yet, but simply human. It was easy for them with each other. They understood each other from half a word. One day, Artyom came with a bouquet of daisies, simple, from the field. He handed them to Elena. "This is for you, because you exist." Elena took the bouquet, pressed it to her chest. Tears came to her eyes. "Thank you." "Elena, I like being near you. You are special, kind, strong, real. I haven't met people like you for a long time." She looked at him, saw sincerity in his eyes, and understood that she liked him too. She liked him very much. "I like being with you too." That's how their story began. They didn't rush. They built the relationship gradually, walked in the evenings when the cafe closed. They went to the cinema, to the park. Artyom met Elena's mother. She received him warmly. She felt that this man would not hurt her daughter. Half a year later, Artyom proposed to her, not at a restaurant with champagne, but simply in the cafe, at the table where they usually sat. He took out a small box, opened it. Inside was a modest ring with a small stone. "Elena, I want to be with you always. Be my wife." She looked at him, at the ring, and felt happiness filling her chest. "Yes, of course, yes." They had a modest wedding, in the cafe, among friends and loved ones. They joined the tables, decorated with flowers, baked pies. Elena's mother sat at the head of the table, smiling. Her condition had improved in the last year. She had even learned to speak a little more clearly. The main guest was Vasile. He had moved to the veterans' house 3 months ago, settled there, passed the complete rehabilitation course, quit drinking definitively, gained weight, looked completely different, healthy, groomed. At the wedding, he wore his old officer's uniform, which they had given him at the veterans' house, with orders and medals on his chest. When everyone gathered, Vasile stood up, raised his glass. Silence fell in the hall. "I want to say a few words," he began. His voice sounded firm, sure. "I lived a hard life. There was everything: war, losses, falling to the lowest level. For 4 years I was a nobody, a homeless old man whom everyone despised. I had lost hope, faith in people, faith in myself. And here, one day, a child, who herself was barely making ends meet, started bringing me food, not out of pity, but out of kindness. She spoke with me as with a human being, didn't pass by.
And when trouble came, I understood that I couldn't allow her to perish. This girl gave me back my human dignity, and I saved her life. We saved each other. He paused, swallowed hard. Tears glistened in his eyes. Elena, Artyom, I wish you happiness. Take care of each other, and remember, kindness returns. It always returns. The guests made noise, applauded. Elena approached Vasile, hugged him tightly. He stroked her head, whispered to her, "Be happy, my child." After the wedding, life flowed quietly. Elena and Artyom rented a 2-room apartment not far away. Her mother moved in with them. Elena continued to care for her, but now she had help. Artyom hired a nurse for half a day. The cafe prospered.
Artyom helped with deliveries, kept the books, gave advice. They became a real team. A year later, they opened a small second cafe in the neighboring district, then a third. The business grew not fast but surely. Vasile worked for them as a consultant on security matters. He came once a week, checked the space, looked to see if everything was in order, the fire exits, the locks, the alarm. Elena paid him a small salary, but for Vasile it was important. He felt necessary, useful. One evening, when all 3 of them were sitting in the first cafe, Elena, Artyom, and Vasile, drinking tea with pies, Elena said, "You know, sometimes I think, what would have happened if that explosion hadn't been? If everything continued as before, you would have continued working for that boss," said Artyom. "You would have broken your back for pennies." "And I would have still lived in the basement," added Vasile. "I would have drunk, degraded, died there probably in 1 year, 2. Elena shook her head. Fate is strange. A terrible event turned into salvation for both of us. Not fate, Vasile contradicted her. Kindness. Your kindness triggered the chain of events. You fed me without expecting anything in return. I paid you back. I saved you. You helped me get on my feet. I help you now. This is real life, when people help each other. Artyom nodded. Grandpa is right. Kindness always returns. Elena took their hands. Vasile's, wrinkled, warm. Artyom's, strong, sure. She squeezed them tight. I thank you for everything. They sat all 3, drank tea, talked about the future. Outside the window, snow was falling, quiet, soft. Somewhere in the city, another life was unfolding, agitated, cruel, unjust. But here, in the small, kind heart cafe, warmth, comfort, and love reigned. Elena looked at the 2 most important men in her life, at the old man who had become almost a father to her, and at the husband with whom she was building her future, and understood that life is hard, but beautiful, because there is room for good in it, and this good, once sown, will necessarily sprout and return tenfold. In 2 years, a little girl was born to Elena and Artyom. They named her Nadezhda. They asked Vasile to be her godfather. The old man teared up when they told him about it. You are our savior, Elena said firmly, and our friend. Nobody fits better than you. At the baptism, Vasile held little Nadia in his arms, looked at her with such tenderness that Elena's breath was taken away. The old warrior, who had gone through war and lost everything, had found his family again, maybe not by blood, but by heart, and the Kind Heart Cafe continued to function. People came there, tired, frozen, lonely, and left warmed, fed, with the belief that in this world there is still kindness. And on the wall hung a small plaque which Elena had put up on the first day of opening. Kindness, once sown, will necessarily return. And this was the pure truth. Thank you for listening to the story. Excuse the mistakes. Write in the comments what you think. If you liked it, subscribe to the channel.